Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne Sportsnet production, available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
The Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today in part by our friends at Geico. Go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I am currently out on vacation, recharging batteries, but just because I'm recharging the batteries, we still got business to take care of. In the meantime, we'll be playing some of the most requested Steve Austin Show classics that have been locked away in the archives. I got a great one for you this week, and here's my producer, Sean, to tell you all about it.
All right, welcome to another classic episode of the Steve Austin Show. It's producer Sean bringing you episode 204. With MMA great Bas Rutten. Original air date March 19th, 2015. And I think this is one of the rare episodes that was recorded at the PodcastOne studios in Beverly Hills. So this is definitely a rarity amongst Steve's catalog. Of course, Bas Rutten, as I said, MMA great, former UFC heavyweight champion, 3 times the king of pancrase. Also, professional wrestler, color commentator, actor, a UFC Hall of Famer. He has done it all. And a liver shot specialist. You'll learn more about that during the interview. And Bas Rutten, one of the most charismatic guys out there. If you get a chance on YouTube, check out Bas Rutten Cartoon Network. And there should be a supercut up there of these vignettes that Bas was doing for Cartoon Network, where he would encourage kids to get up and do exercises and wash their hands and stuff, and it's awesome stuff. It's awesome stuff. So if you can find that on YouTube, you definitely will not be disappointed. And check this out. Bas Rutten made a video game appearance in WCW versus the World for PlayStation 1. I did not know that. As a person who has played wrestling video games his entire life, I was not aware of that, but I did not have a PS1 at the time. I do have the game now, but I've never actually played it, and turns out he was known as Thunderdome in WCW versus the World. I was a WCW versus NWO World Tour guy, so I had Saladin and Alibaba and Joe Boxer, Joe Bruiser. It's Joe Bruiser, right? Yeah, I should know that. Anyway, Steve and Bas, they talk about Bas's MMA career, talk about Bas's intense training regimen. Wait to hear about some of the stuff he does on the treadmill. Also, Bas's friendship with the Smashing Machine, Mark Kerr, as well as both Bas and Steve have a bald head, if you didn't realize that. So they do spend a part of the interview talking about that. So good stuff coming up. Right now, though, it's time for This Day in Steve Austin History, today being January 24th. This was a big day for all you Attitude Era fans because today, on January 24th, 1999, in Anaheim, California, was the Royal Rumble 1999. A very chaotic and classic Rumble, as I remember it. This was the Rumble where Mr. McMahon said that Steve had no chance in hell of winning the Royal Rumble, and he was right. Steve entered at number 1 and was eliminated as number 30 in the Rumble by Mr. McMahon. That's your day in Steve Austin history. Coming up after the break, we've got Bas Rutten on a classic episode of The Steve Austin Show.
Guys can be terrible at taking care of their health. Whether it's a knee injury, bad back, or something worse, guys are usually more comfortable rubbing some dirt on it than seeing a doctor. The same is true for erectile dysfunction. Studies show 70% of guys who experience ED don't get treated for it. Thankfully, our friends at Roman are here to help. Roman is a one-stop shop for diagnosing, treating ED online, and getting yourself in check. Roman offers a quick and easy online questionnaire, which is then reviewed by Roman's network of U.S. licensed physicians. If appropriate, they'll prescribe FDA-approved brand-name medication that ships directly to your door. No awkward conversations. No waiting rooms, no inconvenient trips to the pharmacy. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, go to GetRoman.com/Austin for a free online visit. This covers the opportunity to talk with a doctor and finding out what will work for you when it comes to overcoming ED. It is definitely worth your time. Again, That's GetRoman.com/Austin for your free online medical visit. Check it out.
This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
All right, here we go. I'm sitting here with former UFC champion Bas Rutten, former three-time pancreas. Was it King of Pancreas? King of Pancreas champion, and mixed martial arts legendary cat. Dude, welcome to the show. It's good to see you again. I've been a big fan for a long time. I just got a chance to meet you the other day doing your show.
It is so cool. It's so cool because, I've been a big fan of yours, so it's always good to hear that it's the other way around. Also, you never expect that.
Yeah, but from were you ever really a fan of pro wrestling?
Now, in Holland, we don't have it.
Right.
So when I came here, once I saw all the theatrics, and I was one of the first guys because they said, but it's not real. I said, but like I said on the show last Friday, the falls are real, the hits you're taking are real, and the things are going wrong, and you're doing it so many times a year. It's like we fight. Well, I had a really busy schedule. I fought like 28 fights in 4 years, so for me that was a lot. But what you was 220?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the volume of our shows on the road is much greater, but man, between fights, you guys are going like crazy with the training camp.
That's true. All the injuries happen in the training. That's most of the time. The only time when I get injured during fights, well, that was actually pro wrestling. That I got hurt. There I got hurt the most. Yeah.
It was interesting. I was watching a million videos on you, reading about you, and of course I've watched you for years. But then, I got a chance to see. I never knew back in the formative years. I was sitting there looking across from you. You and I are almost identical age. We're both 50. Mm-hmm. Good-looking cat.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I didn't know you used to have a full head of hair, and you were a model. And very successful.
Yeah, it was. Well, I worked like 3-4 days a week. It was at that time.
Yeah.
I made good money. I made $1,500 a day. I was 20 years old.
That's unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. What happened was these three ladies, they started a new model agency, and they came from a big one. They wanted to do it themselves, and it was just at the time when they went away from the feminine-looking guys. Right. They wanted to go to the tough guys. And I walked in there, and they loved me, all these three ladies, and they just sent me out for work.
But it's funny because seeing some of the stuff that you're doing, with hair, good-looking kid. But then you had a bad hair day one day, and you're in there with a purple blow dryer, and you said, man, it's too much. Fuck this. I'm going to shave clean.
Yep.
And you told, I think it was before you had married your wife,
yep.
And you said, I'm going to shave it all off, and she didn't believe you.
Yeah.
You went to the barbershop.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know what?
Was it that bad of a hair day, Bas?
It was a bad hair day, and I couldn't stand because I had contact lenses as well.
Yeah.
So, and then and I started messing with gel, which I never did, and I shouldn't have done it. I got in my contact, and I'm getting aggravated, and it was the hard contacts.
Yes.
At that time, but there were no soft ones. So I said, the eyes hurting, and I go, and suddenly I take this blow dryer, and I see myself with the blow dryer in the mirror, and I go, this is not cool, this is stupid. I'm going to cut it off. I told my wife I went to the barber store because I wanted to tell two stories at the same time. I have this new poster right now, and that new poster is a badass poster. There's 1,380 pictures make that poster.
Right.
And there's actually a picture on there, a little tiny picture, where you see me for the first time. What I did, I said, cut it off, leave a mohawk in the middle,
right.
Make a picture, and then shave it all off. And that picture I put on that poster as well.
So when you got the shave job, you looked at yourself in the mirror. Were you happy with what you saw? And then did the modeling career continue with being a good-looking kid, but with the dome?
The modeling was already stopped because I started competing in Thai boxing, so I showed up at the Shiners, and they didn't really like that. By the way, I saw you with long, luscious hair as well. I'm just throwing it out there.
But see, here's the thing. I was watching your story, like, here's this good-looking young athlete, and he's a model, and he's dependent on his hair. And, of course, way back in the day of pro wrestling, it was like the old hair bands.
Yeah.
So, you had to have long hair to be a successful pro wrestler. So, I started losing mine, and I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and I called my buddy up, and I said, hey, man, I'm losing my hair. What do you think I should do? He goes, well, fuck, I don't know. He's just a dumbass pro wrestler too, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to the hair club for men, and they talking about the plugs and everything like that. I've told the story a million times, so I won't go into it, but I said, fuck you. I ain't doing the plugs. Yeah. Homie, don't play that shit. So anyway, all these years later, it turned out that, of course, it ended up when I would get my best look. But you did it, because you just got tired of fucking with your hair.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting thing about sitting across from you is people always ask me, and they see me in pictures these days, they say, man, what the fuck happened to your eyebrows? Do you shave your eyebrows? No, I don't shave my fucking eyebrows. I'm like an albino. You can barely see them, right, Bas?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, but see, like you got vivid eyebrows. And so like every now and then I'll go into a gig, and because I'm so used to seeing myself without them, they'll paint them on. And all of a sudden I got a big pair of brown bushy eyebrows. I look like Mr. Potato Head. Yeah. So that's like now when I go do a gig, I'll say, don't mess with eyebrows. People are used to seeing me like this.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, And what did you have? The same as me. When I shaved my head, it was total freedom.
Oh,
for me, like going in the shower and just use the soap for your head instead of shampoo, and going in the swimming pool, coming out, and like, oh, no messing with the hair. I love it.
The big thing about me was my hair was a real fine blowaway hair. And so it tangled like a bitch when you wrestled. Now, it was beautiful. Now, when I was a kid, I grew up in South Texas, Bas, and we would always go to the drugstore and get like a fountain Coke. This is way back, when dinosaurs were still roaming the earth in a small town in South Texas. And, the old ladies would be in there getting their drugs or whatever, and they'd comment, and I was probably a 10-year-old kid, and say, oh, your hair is beautiful. Do you bleach it or dye it, whatever you do to it? And I said, no, it's just my natural hair color. So it was absolutely beautiful hair, but it was so fine that when I wrestle people, man, trying to comb through the tangles and the gnats, and then if you're riding with the hair down, you finally get your driver's license, you're trying to cruise and, pick up some women with driving the 71 Formula Firebird, and when you try to comb that shit later, and then see, I started messing with the hair gel too, real light stuff, because mine would get really fucked up, flock of seagulls looking. So it wasn't good for me, but it ended up being my best look. Yeah. So now with your trademark look, and you've had this forever now. Yeah. So what's the routine? Because you're pretty unkempt right now.
Yeah, I do. I leave it like this. The beard, this I did yesterday. I leave it at this size. I like it at this size.
You just got a different attachment on your gimmick that you use?
Yeah. And then I do it. And I do it twice a week. Yeah. I'm not really into constantly doing that. Just twice a week, that's enough for me.
Now, who would ever figure that legitimately one of the toughest human beings on the planet and the toughest SOB in the WWF will be sitting there talking about grooming and bullshit like that?
How's that? And you're with your blonde, luscious hair.
What was the mindset of yourself before you went into a fight? You see, and speaking right now, and I watch all the UFC pay-per-views. I'm a huge fan. So you see the guys go do the stare down, the stare down, whatever, the touch gloves. Were you ever into the psyching out stuff? I mean, a lot of guys just mad dog like crazy. Mm-hmm. Some just have that stare. Quentin Jackson had his thing. And some guys are just emotionless. You always just look like supremely confident and very calm.
Yep. That's the whole trick. The trick in everything is staying calm. And I know that if I do the stare down, I'll stand in front of him, and I actually look at their bellies. And many times I see their bellies shake from the nerves. And then I look at my own belly, and I go, I got you. I knew for many times.
That's a tell for you.
Yeah. I already knew I was going to win. Mm-hmm. And I remember my second fight, actually, because I knocked the first guy, I knocked him out in Japan, and he was already the number 4 or 5 guy. And he went to the hospital. It was 2 days in the hospital. Right. He was gone, this guy, right? So then the second guy comes in, and he had this long hair. And I'm looking at, I look at his belt. I see he's nervous, but now I hear the audience go, ooh. So I know he's staring me down, right? So I'm looking, suddenly I look up in his eyes, and I go, and he gets so scared. You see him go, suddenly he looks down, and the referee is patting us down, and he looks up, and I remember him saying, it's no street fight, Mr. Rutten, no street fight. It was the craziest thing. But I had to do that, because I felt it was insecurity since I saw his belly go, so I called his bluff, and I saw right away this word.
So you rattled him.
Yeah. And that fight, I almost lost that fight, because I was very sick. I came up, I had to throw up, my manager had to carry my luggage. It was horrible. I felt so bad in that fight, and there was this moment that he has me in an armbar, and there were rope escapes in Japan. So like when I would pull him to the rope I touch, he had to let go, but it would count the same as an 8 count, so to say. And I'm just ready to tap until I hear the audience for him cheering, and I go, nah, this is not going to happen. And instead of touching the rope right next to me, I drag him to the entire ring to the other rope. I just had a tunnel vision. I touched the rope, and I was so tired, I remember. And then when I got him in the clinch, I saw his breathing. And I see him go breathing in. And as soon as he was breathing in again, I nailed the knee in there because that's where the stomach is the weakest. Man, he went down like crazy. And then I won that fight. That was the moment, deciding moment for me. I said, I will never quit again or thinking about quitting because I flipped it around a minute later.
Right. You fell in love with the liver shot taking a Thai boxing class because you were dropped with one.
Yep.
And was that the holy grail of the come to Jesus? Like, hey, man, when you get here, it fucking hurts, and I'm going to specialize in this. Because it was you that pretty much termed the liver shot, correct?
Yeah. It's like, I'm laughing.
So what happened?
It's just, Osman was his name. He was an A-class fighter. I came in as a beginner, but I was a black belt in karate. I was the baddest kid in our karate gym. But in Thai boxing, that didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, and suddenly punches to the face are coming flying at you. So what you do, you overcommit to defending those punches. So my hands went all the way up. And of course, exposing my body. And this guy was so good, he dropped me right away with liver shot. And I could not speak for like a minute. I'm just sitting there, and he goes, "Sorry, dude. You know, he's a very nice guy." I said, "What is that?" He said, "How is this?" He says, "A liver behind it. You know, you shook that up. It really hurts." And it always stayed with me. And then, who was really good as well, it's a good friend of mine who passed away, Robin Deggers. He was the best Thai boxer ever. And he dropped a lot of people with body shots too. And since that, he was my idol as well.
Right.
You know, I really started focusing on the body shots. And then suddenly in Pancras, it started happening. Boom, 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 everybody.
We were doing your show the other day in downtown L.A., and I was asking you about the liver shot. And so you basically gave me a baby, just kind of poked your hand into my liver there a little bit. Yeah. So it's obviously, how long does it take you to recover from something like that? And can you, in a fight, to regain your composure and your physicality and carry on?
So, some guys do. Some guys do, and it can like with Jason DeLucia, when I fought him, I literally split his liver. He was peeing blood. He had to go to the hospital, but I dropped him 3 times. And the first shot, when you see me dropping him, it's a hard shot. I feel it, but he gets through it, and if I get it the second time, and then the last one I remember, I fully go for the body, and it felt like I didn't touch anything. And in slow motion, when you see it he was breathing in, and the muscles were relaxed. I just slid through the whole, I could almost touch his spine, so to say. Right. And that's the moment you want to have. I always tell people you can do 5,000 sit-ups a day. If they hit you at the moment you're breathing in, you're going down.
Right. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Paul Lazenby, and because I was talking to him way back in the day, and you were around. But for a while, when Gracie started submitting a lot of people, a lot of times a guy would tap, but then he'd jump up and he'd say, "I didn't tap."
Yeah.
And so then they really started cinching those holes in and hanging on longer. But you, at one time, had Kevin Randleman, an armbar?
Yeah.
And instead of finishing it, when he got out, what happened?
No, I just went for it, but I didn't.
But it's something that always stuck with you.
Yeah, it stuck with me because I would have had that, I thought. But for some reason, I didn't want to snap it. I don't want to, and it was, with me, it's, I'm a weird guy. Like, when people know, and some people knew before the fight, that I was injured, and then when I would do a submission and I overcommit to the submission, they will all say, "Oh, he did that because he was," and that goes through my head. So I it's stupid. I should have just gone for it.
Right.
But hey, it didn't happen. So every time when I see it, I was still cringe my toes. If somebody sends me to fight or something, oh, God.
If you go back, when I watch some of my old pro wrestling matches, I hate to do it because I always think, God, well, why did you do this? That looks like shit. You should have done this.
Yep.
So when you go back and watch some of your fights, are you like, how are you at watching yourself? Are you like, oh, man, I was pretty fucking good, or hey, maybe I would have done this now, or hey, that was good execution, good technique.
It's for me, it's such a clear thing. Like I have no clue when some guys, they come to me after a fight, and then I say, "Man, great spinning back kick, man, to the head." And he looks at me, he goes like, "Did I throw a spinning back kick?" And for me, that's unbelievable. Like, I would remember when I would watch the fight for the first time, I could literally say, "Okay, watch, he's going to throw this, I'm going to counter with this. Right. He's going to do this, I'm going to counter with this." I would just be there. Right. I felt that. I fought the fight. I know what I did.
Right.
So I when I see it, I'm always happy about that. It's a real weird feeling that I'm in, and a very comfortable. I'm in a zone, and I hear everybody. Here's corner. That's where I tune into to see what they say to him. I just feel very comfortable. And if you would have little nerves in the dressing room, that was the only thing I would focus on. I say, as soon as it goes ding, it's gone. It's gone. And it's really weird.
Did you have nerves in the dressing room?
In the beginning, you have, and because it's only natural. And I read also somebody, like even Roosevelt would say, you need them. Because if you don't, you're too relaxed. The one fight that I had no nerves whatsoever, and that they literally had to call to me and say, hey, you got to get into your fighting outfit because your fight is the next fight, That was against Ken Shamrock, the one I lost, the last one. I was so confident going into that fight. I had nothing, and I always thought about that later. I said that was the wrong thing. I was so comfortable I was going to win this fight, and I didn't.
Now, growing up in Holland, you were in track and field. What events did you participate in?
Decathlon, believe it or not, Bruce Jenner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who would figure back in the day, because you're old enough to know, man, back in 76, Bruce Jenner was the greatest athlete in the world.
I had a book, The Olympics, with him jumping over the fast break.
Good-looking guy, coming to meet his bucks, and now... But let's talk about him then. So,
he was it. He was the gold medalist. I wanted to be, wow, what a cool thing if you know everything. And I was good at everything. Of course, the asthma was a little less, of course, for my running. 400 meter, 800, those I could do. Because that's
what kind of 400 meter time could you crank out?
In 400 meter?
60 second, sub 60?
Yeah, no, I think...
Because we were in, well, 61. You guys are probably metric. We were probably still in yards.
Yeah. We all metric. Yeah. So and the sprint was 11.2, the 100. But I didn't focus on those yet. Pole vault. I just started with pole vault.
What'd you clear on the pole vault?
Oh, no, 3 meters, 20 centimeters, which is at 10 feet, 10 feet at 11 feet. But that's like I just started with it. And then my injuries, later in life, I stopped my injuries because I had tendonitis. And I realized I would have it after the javelin. I would have tendonitis already. And my knees were also, with high jump, I literally had to start at, 6 feet. That was my first jump. Because I had only 4 jumps, and then my knees would be so much in pain I couldn't do anything anymore for 2 weeks. And it was the same with my arms. Shot put was good, discus was good, my long jump was good, high jump was good. I
love the discus throw. And, when I first started track, I had some pretty good endurance back in the day, so I figured, man, I'll be like a long distance runner. Well, the dude was over, his name was Russell Bitters. His dad was a veterinarian in town, and he was huffing and puffing and throwing the discus. I said, well, fuck, man, let me try that.
Yeah.
So I wound up. Well, I didn't wind up. I didn't have a wind up yet. So I just pressed one from the end of the ring, and I out threw him. So I turned into a discus thrower. So, man, I got out there, and finally I started learning my spin technique and, throw the shit out of there. And it ended up being a lot of fun for me. But how would your asthma come into play with all the running, dude? Because if you were so fragile as a young child, here you are in your high school years, right?
Yep.
How did you work with asthma? Would it come and go? Was it constant? Because I've never had it.
It would come and go. It was every time when I would be close to a horse or any animal with hair, I would get asthma. So I had to really watch out where I was going. And the lungs would close. Nowadays, before the fights, I would literally go hard in the dressing room. My lungs would close. I spray them open, and then you can go for hours. But you didn't have that kind of medication in my time. I remember there was a thing you have to press the button and the capsule got punctured, and then on a little wheel, and then when you breathe in, the wheel starts spinning, and that's the way you got it into your lungs. But it didn't really work like that. Nowadays, you spray and you're good to go. I had one episode one time when I did some fire spitting with oil. I ended up in the hospital with asthma, and they literally had to shoot me up in order to open my lungs. The inhaler didn't work anymore. But I think I was breathing in the oil. Maybe that really messed with my lungs.
Make sure to stick around after this podcast to get the latest headlines from the AP News Minute.
The fight for the football postseason is underway, and the sports betting expert RJ Bell is wired into the big game.
I feel good about it, and thank you so much for all the support. It really means a lot.
Tune in to hear the best analysis and play-by-plays before RJ heads to Atlanta for the final showdown.
Jibber jabber all you want, as long as you're one of the best guys out there. Whoop, deal with it. And then when you're not, bye-bye.
Download RJ Bell's Dream Preview every week on PodcastOne Sportsnet or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Steve Austin. Unleash.
You got two of the best-looking bald-headed guys sitting at a table.
Very true.
Ever been in this goddamn town. Bas, you mentioned aches and pains, and you were talking about them while you were in your high school days and track and field. I mean, and heaven forbid, this is, man, 25 years later, now we're sitting here talking. And I can see why you'd have the aches and pains after the MMA stuff you went through and all the training, the judo, the taekwondo, all the punishment. But, dude, already you're starting with aches and pains in high school. What happened?
I was so sick as a kid. I took, I think it's 44 or 46 capsules a day, all different stuff for my diseases. A lot of cortisones. And I think the cortisones eventually got a hold of my tendons. I think that's where it always started with.
So was it a cortisone pill? Because, you know, just from my athletic endeavors, I know you can only get X amount of cortisone shots.
Yeah, no, pills. And I think it's even worse because the liver has to break it down, you know, and I think it's just very bad for the body. But I had always an extreme, maybe because of all that, it was just my body, like the way I heal.
Right.
You know, after the eczema, I mean, a cut is like next day people go like, where is it? I say, oh, no, I heal fast. And they say, but that's crazy. And I go, no, that's how I heal.
Right.
Because it's been doing it 24/7 for freaking years. My whole, since I was 6 till like 17, it's been doing that every day, all day long. So I always had a very high testosterone level. Like we went to a doctor because I was very hyper kid. And my mother, we did a blood test. And the guy, when he got it back, they had to send it to 3 other laboratoriums because they could not believe it was from a human, they said.
Right.
He started laughing. And my friend is there with me, and he goes, oh, this. And in Holland, they had a different explanation. They said, okay, normal is 85. That's what they say in Holland. It's like not like here 800. It's 85. And if you have a high level, it's 125. I had 2,400.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I said, but I don't use any steroids. She says, no, because if you would use steroids, then you would never produce that kind of amount about yourself. So I was very strong, always been very strong.
Right.
So it always helped me with that. And just asthma, that was the only thing that held me back.
What were you doing with your training when you got into your competitive years? Because you've always, you know, had a great physique. Was there any weight training at all, or was that just, man, being in the gym and banging and throwing all the punches and the kicking and the kickboxing?
Yeah, my training was very early on. I realized you need to train everything. You need to train conditioning with power training. And I tell this to people. People have no clue what to do. I see guys doing bench press the day before the fight. And I go, you're such an idiot.
Dude, I'm not a fighter, and it ain't not a good idea. Yeah.
Because all the muscles, all your intercostal muscles, the rib muscles, and your core gets all tight. And when it is tight, you can't breathe.
Right.
You know, it needs to be super relaxed. You know, so I always said, you know, make sure that you don't do that. I stopped like 8 days before I stopped power training. And I always did like a pushing, pulling exercise. Everything is supersets with me.
Right.
Pushing, pulling, conditioning. Pushing, pulling, conditioning. Every exercise, 50 seconds, 50, 10 seconds to go to the next exercise. And go bang them out, back and forth. Pop, through it. So it's like a bench press, then pull to the chest, and then I would do a kicking it back.
Right.
And I would do that set 4 times. Then the next 3, then the next 3, then the next 3, like that. That's how I would train all the time.
But then also you had a specific cardio workout you mentioned on your show with Rogan. It was a treadmill workout. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Crazy.
You run like 10 miles and then you crank it up. What was that?
That was me.
Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember because those were the hell days. That was actually, I would do that.
That was insanity.
It's insanity. I would do that before that power training.
Right. Okay. Explain that workout again.
Okay, so I start running 11 miles an hour for 10 minutes. I stretch first a little bit, and then I start running flat 11 miles an hour for 10 minutes. Then I stretch more, put the incline all the way up, 9 miles an hour, and then I jump on the treadmill, leave it running in between my legs, and I jump on for 45 seconds and off for 30 seconds. And I try to hit 10 times. It's really hard, especially guys for our weight also. It's incredibly hard. It's not like running a hill,
right?
Because a hill you can kind of pace yourself.
Right.
This thing keeps going 9 miles an hour.
Yeah. If you don't keep up, it's going to spit you off.
Oh, it's the worst.
You ever have any bad wipeouts?
It's no, never had that. But people, if I would do this like 24-hour fitness or so, because I'm starting to make around number 8, it's you die. People sweat all over the place.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing.
Yeah,
I just would do that, and if I knew that I could hit it 10 times, I knew that nobody else was doing that.
Right.
There's no way they're going to beat me with conditioning.
You had a great gas tank. These days, you know, the guys with a lot of muscle seem to consume a lot of fuel or air.
Yep.
But you were almost like the perfect fighting physique.
Yep.
Do you think having too much muscle impairs people? Because I just haven't seen a guy with a lot of muscle really go that long in a long time. It's the guys who just have almost the perfect physique, kind of long and lean, with enough to generate power. I mean, you always generated tremendous power.
Yep.
But you weren't so muscled up that your body took all your air.
Long, lengthy. I never wanted to be bulky. After power training, I would hang and stretch all my muscles. I wanted to be lean and fast.
Right.
And my repetitions was at least 25 or 30 repetitions.
Right.
I never did. And then people go to me, yeah, but how strong are you? I say, I don't know. I know I can bench press, what was it, at 90 kilos, what would that be? About 200 pounds. I can bench press at 30 times. So that's pretty strong, right? Because they say, oh, but can you do 400 or so? I say, I never tried.
Yeah.
I just do heavyweight because they say, oh, so the lighter weights. I say, well, it's not really light. It's still 200 pounds. And I do it 30 times. So I was strong. Dips, dips, I had to start putting up. I make 90 or 100 dips, so I have to start adding weight to myself. Right. Otherwise, it's going to be too annoying to do 4 sets of that.
If we were to sit here and we got a robot here or a drawing board, and we're going to create, let's say, light heavy class, 205, and we're going to create the perfect fighter from physical attributes. How tall is this guy going to be? What's he going to walk around at? Let's build a fighter that you would deem as physically, someone to be great. I do a broken skull challenge, and there's a skull buster course. And like the ideal physique to run my course, it seems has been guys from 6'1" to 6'2", no heavier than 215, but you're going to need enough body weight to get you through the brackets to get to that course. But if you get over 215, the heartbreak hill and the other elements will kick your ass. And if you're too bulky, it's going to drain all your energy, and that's going to kick your ass. So let's build the perfect 205-pound class guy. How tall he's going to be, what he's going to walk around at, what's his training discipline from a background standpoint.
I would say always around the 205. When you meet these guys like John Jones and Chuck Liddell, and they're huge.
Jesus.
I'm standing next to them and go, man, I'm the same weight class as this guy. Like 2 or 3 inches taller. And but I like that. I would say 6'2", exactly what you said. I think the natural weight. I never believe in cutting a lot of weight. I believe in keep the body happy because that's going to perform for you. It's very hard because some guys, they start out. Wrestling should always be a part of any mixed martial artist. Right. So if you're a wrestler and you learn how to strike like a Chuck Liddell, that's a golden combination. If you're a really good wrestler and really good ground game, that's a good combination as well. Matters, of course, knowing everything. But either you're a wrestler, you can take the fight to the ground whenever you want to play your game, or you can keep it on the feet to play your game. So it's always components of two, but wrestling always has to be in there.
But where does the jiu-jitsu level come in? Do we need a black belt level?
Well, yeah.
It was just funny because you're self-taught jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
How in the fuck did you do that? But just because left your own devices, you and your buddy watched tapes and tried to, like you said, break down all the stuff. And
break it down. What I realized really early on, listen, I did at the really good guys seminars, like third-degree black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Say, where did you get that technique from? I said, I came up with that. He said, are you kidding? I say, yeah. I say, it's just, you have to understand, it was the only thing I did. Right. Once I lost my last fight against Ken, my house was post-its everywhere with combinations. I always tell the story. I woke up my wife at least 6 or 7 times in the middle of the night because I would dream a submission. I would put her in that submission, and I say, is your arm right? Is your shoulder? Yeah, okay. I would write it down, and then the next day I would go to the gym. And then I was fortunate to train with a really gifted athlete as well. Leon Van Dijk was my one guy that I had in Holland my entire career pretty much. And this guy, if I would get him 3 times in an armbar in that setup, he would know when I was going to do the armbar. So that forced me to create a different way to go to that same armbar. Right. But then he got that again. So so soon enough, I had for every technique 3 or 4 different setups. Right. And once I start mixing those, boom, I would catch him, And that's how we really got it. We would look at the fight and say, that looks great, but I think I can do that better. Do this on me. And they would do the lock on me, and I said, well, I can get out if I do this. So how can you stop this from getting out? Oh, you hook the legs. Okay, hook the legs. Okay, what can I do now? Oh, there's something I can do this. Okay, so don't hook the legs. So what would we do now? So I was just going over.
But dude, how many hours a day were you spending in a gym just doing this? Because this sounds like an all-day affair because of the knowledge.
The mental affair. Yeah. It was mental 24/7, and I always believed, and I'm weirded out if I hear people who train 8 hours a day. I cannot believe that. My workouts would be 3 times like an hour, maybe 10 times, 2 times a week.
Yeah.
But once when I wanted to know the submissions, we were training 3 times a day because I really wanted to know that. After that last loss, I actually won my next 8 fights by submission. I just totally flipped it around suddenly. My end career, I get like 12 knockouts and 14 submissions. In my ends, I have actually more submission victories now than I have knockouts. But if you train your body, let's say the body's a title fight, it's a 30-minute fight, let's say, with minutes in between. Why would you train 8 hours a day? Why wouldn't you teach your body to throw out a lot of output in a short amount of time? Because that's what you're going to do.
Right.
So my power training routines also, they were 36 minutes. And I did that running exercise before.
Right.
But again, that's just an hour. It's not hours and hours and endurance and running and jogging. I never did that.
But you live, breathe, and ate mixed martial arts. I mean, 24/7.
All day long. And I would literally, what I can do in my head, my ex-coach, karate coach still says it, because we never went over my kata for a black belt. I learned from a book, from pictures. I literally saw, and I did from a book. And then when I came to him, he said, my God, this is really good. I never had lower point than a 5, and a 5 is the maximum you can get in karate.
Right.
So I never had a 4 in any test that I ever did.
How do you balance that going now, again, back to the marriage and relationship? How did your wife put up with all that? The fact that, you were so driven and living, eating, breathing that. Did you have good balance on the other side of it? Or was that the part where your wife was, so to speak, putting up with you?
No, she loved it. Yeah, she was so supportive, and she saw how much I loved it. But she realized also, it's like my parents, they were very against it because they think it's violence. But once, they get suddenly camera crews in their home, and I'm not even there, and they start talking, and your son, and this, and this, and this, and they show footage, and then of training footage. And then my dad came to a workout one time, and they go, oh my God, this is way more complicated than we're thinking, They realized it was a sport.
Right.
And I always tell them also, I said, Mom, for me, if I shoot hoops with somebody, or if I train with him and we try to beat each other up, that's the same. And it's almost in fighting too. Like in fighting, you never see a real animosity. Sometimes you see it, but these guys love each other. Okay, he won, he lost. They asked the question last week. My wife said, who do you want to win? And we were watching the UFC. And I said, I know this guy. I would like him to win because I think he's really good, but I don't mind. I think because I know what it is. Any given day, somebody can lose. And the best fighter on the planet, any given day can lose. Like with Pettis.
Yeah, but we were talking. You said, hey, Pettis is going to probably win this thing.
He came out like a bat out of hell, watched the Clay Guida fight, don't leave pressure off. And that's what he did.
Right.
And unbelievable shape. At the end of the fight, he was just going, jumped on top of the cage. He's not even breathing. Right. So these guys getting in a really good shape, and it's all about training hard. That's really.
But what do you think was your strongest attribute? To me, when I watch you and your execution, and of course, all the bar fight, how to survive a bar fight videos that you got on YouTube. Go on YouTube and you Google Bas Rutten, you're going to find all kinds of cool things. But I always tell people, and let me draw a parallel here because I'm not in your league. But if you want to be a successful pro wrestler, first of all, there's got to be some charisma and showmanship to it. But as a heel, you have to have a mean streak. Yep. You have to want to inflict pain. You have to want to finish that person. As a babyface, you have to have fire, that the crowd can see. And most times if that fire is organic and it's real, it will resonate. If it's manufactured and you're going through the motions, you can reach a certain level, but it is what it is. Whether it was a win or a loss, what was some of the hardest shots that you got hit with by who? Or who? I'm sure you're a smart guy. You respected all your opponents because anybody can lose there. But who did you think, okay, I need to really be on for any fight, but I really got to be on for this fight?
Yeah, that would be in the Thai boxing fight against Frank Lopman. That was the only guy that I said, okay, get it out. And he didn't even, because people say, Bas went down. I didn't go down. You can tell because I'm talking to the corner. What happened was when I fought that Thai boxing fight and I lost, right? I did this crazy thing. I have a really high vertical jump.
Yeah.
So just above underneath my throat, I could stand in front of a wall, and then I can just jump on top of that. And I did that, but it was raining, and it was 2 weeks before the fight, and I landed with my shin bone and it gave me a big hole in my shin. And at that time, it was all pollen everywhere. I had a cortisone shot for my asthma. So once you take cortisones and you have a cut, it doesn't heal anymore. So that cut was still there. We tried to tape it closed, and it was a nightmare. And he said, oh my God, and I'm feeling it. I'm going to feel this in the fight. And he says, I'll get you a lidocaine shot. I said, do it around the nerve. He says, no, we'll do it in your butt, and then the leg will be okay. You will see me in the fight kicking my leg the whole time because my leg doesn't
put your leg to sleep.
It doesn't. Yeah. It was not a smart thing to do, but hey, it happened. Can't go back in that.
Hey man, you recently, not too long ago, you had a 3 or 4 level fusion in your neck?
Yeah.
And I was watching some of your older videos, and I'm still looking at right across from you. The right arm still got some atrophy, but man, this is going back several years.
Yeah.
And back in I had a 3-4 fusion. I had spinal stenosis. I had a bone spur growing into my spinal cord. Whole different thing. I got a bruised spinal cord and got dropped on my head. And so my thing is different than yours, but yours was kind of almost a similar thing to Paul Orndorff, a guy named Mr. Wonderful way back in the day, one of my old travel partners. Really, really bad pinched nerve, and it cut off his nerve so bad his arm never came back.
Yeah.
But you're starting to get yours back, but you waited a long time to get this surgery. Why did you wait so long?
Yeah, that's my body, My father would say when I was a kid, you're so crazy, you're going to die one time because you actually will tell a guy you can shoot me in the stomach, I will flex and the bullet will ricochet off. I literally thought I was invincible.
Right.
So, and it was on a TV show. Pretty much the same. Jump on the back of an opponent. Holt McCallum, that show Lights Out. Yeah. He's got a new show actually now. I had to fight him, and he was going to beat me. And the script was he was going to beat me very easy, fairly easy. And Holt says, "We can't do this, man. This is freaking Bas. Let's make a big fight here." I say, "What about this?" I jump on your back, and I forget to put the hooks in. I slide off. I spike myself. I be dizzy. You hit me in the throat, and well, you finish me off.
Right.
You want to do that? I say, "I'll do it twice because obviously it's not good." Still, now thinking about it makes me feel so stupid that I did that. But I thought nothing can happen to me.
Right.
And then I remember 1 month later, I'm going to the UFC event in Boston at an expo, and I couldn't carry my carry-on. That's how it started. I freaked out. I thought it was my whole body, so my other arm. And I go, oh, thank God, I can lift it with my other arm. And then
all the guys do that because obviously you think, okay, man, there's nothing wrong, but then obviously it takes something that simple, and it's like, oh, your eyes get this big, like, oh, fuck, there's a real problem here.
Yeah. Especially guys like us, you always want to be strong.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when you can't brush your teeth anymore because I can't put pressure on my teeth with my right hand, you start to think, okay, I'm getting very, very weak now.
So you had a good doctor. I mean, did you go get a bunch of different opinions? What was your protocol?
I should have gone with the first guy that my wife went to, and I didn't. I went to another guy because everybody's raving about the guy. I had 3 people telling me about the same guy. He's actually in Marina del Rey, about the same guy at the same day. So it's got to be a sign. I got to go to this guy. He goes in from the back, opens up, makes the holes around the nerves bigger. And that's it. And I did that, but it never started doing anything. Then when I went to the guy from my wife, he said, well, they're still caught. We need to do a fusion. So we did a fusion. They jumped up back 100%. But now what started happening, and that's why I don't use a bone grow machine, everything in my body works fast.
Right.
Always. And the whole plate start grown over by bone now.
Right.
And the bones start filling the holes again. So now this final guy, who's a friend of the other surgeon, he's one of the few guys who does also disc replacements.
Right.
But you can't do it anymore once it's fused. That option is gone. And I went to him and he says, you know what? I know going in through the back is bad. You had to in the back?
Oh, in front.
Okay, yeah. Going in from the back with the muscles, especially we have, that's an insane pain for 2 weeks. And he said, we got to go in the back. I just going to fuse everything from the back and from the front.
Right.
So that's what we did. They went in from the front. It was a 7-hour surgery, he said. Everything fused.
Okay, so right then towards the end, it was, what was it when you had your last fight? The last fight was in 2006, but you were already starting. When you got to UFC, that's when all the injuries really kind of started catching up to you because you tore your bicep.
Yeah. Still a little small here, see?
Yeah, but you got all this knee pain. So, like, on a day-to-day basis, when Bas Rutten gets out of bed, are you like a morning person? Does it take a long time for you to get your faculties together? What's your level of pain on a 1 to 10?
Well, I put myself over it. You know, I had a long time that I walked out and every time I go, oh, it hurts. And then I said, you know what, listen, Bas, nobody's watching you. You know, there's no complaining. Just walk. You know, why would you do it? And you get used to that kind of pain.
Right.
You know, heaven for me, but I don't want to do it anymore because I took too many cortisones. It's like when the doctor shoots my knees up with cortisones, then for 2 weeks, when I stand up and sit down, I don't feel a thing. It's, I'm in a different life. Then you really realize how much this holds me back.
Right.
Walking stairs, always have to hold. When I get up from this chair, I will push triceps, use my triceps to get up.
Do.
Pain. And it's no cartilage on the knee caps. And everybody goes, oh, that's easy. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's the worst problem in the knees. The only one they cannot fix. If I would have little patches here and there, they can regrow the cartilage. They can put it in like a grass mat. That's how they explain it. They put a little pack in there, and it will grow in there. Mine are bolt.
Right.
They can drill a hole through it, and then put a Teflon plate on the other side. But once they drill a hole, your kneecap becomes like 30-40% weaker.
Right.
So, and when it breaks, I'm going to be really done.
Right.
So I'm just waiting now, hoping that within a few years, they're going to figure something out, how to attach cartilage to a bald kneecap, and that would really save me.
Hey, you got your show on, how do you say it? Access TV or
Access TV,
Okay,
yeah.
Access TV. You got your show on Access TV that I was part of the other day. But you also are interested in doing some acting, and you did Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James.
Yep.
It was a great movie.
Yep.
And you had a great part in it.
Yep.
So how hot and heavy are you pursuing things on the acting end these days with respect to the stuff that you do overseas and your stuff still within the MMA world?
The reason I came to America was try to become an actor. I did those comedy shows in Holland, really like to perform in front of people. And I say, why don't I try that? You know, because they lured me in here also. They said, maybe you can do something in TV and everything. So I was literally, within 3 weeks I was here, I was taking acting classes. I was at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. I was taking classes already. So I knew.
How much did that help you?
A lot. But what the most helped was the Pride Fighting Championships, going live in front of a camera.
Right. Commentating.
That helped. Yeah.
Right.
And especially the opening of the show. Can make mistakes. You know, you gotta make sure everything is perfect on time. You know, and that would really put me in a good. And then when I did Punk Payback, that TV show, that was all off the cuff.
Right.
I mean, there was no script. They show me a clip, and I go, oh, okay, let's do this. And like one take would be different than the next take.
But almost isn't that ad-lib and more fun because you have the freedom and it's, I mean, first of all, you have to be talented enough to do it, but the easy part of it is it's ad-lib, and if you're good at ad-libbing, you don't have to memorize anything.
That's it, but that's why I realized that, hey, if I make a mistake, now my English is at such a level that when I make a mistake, I can pick it up at something else. I couldn't do that for the first 5 years, but it's my second language. So now it starts much, and when I did that, those episodes, like 15 episodes I did, and then I went back to acting. That's actually after that I did Here Comes the Boom. I was like, wow, man, this is even better than performing in front of your in acting class. Acting class, the only bad time to perform is the first 2-3 times.
Right.
Once you're through that and everybody knows you, it's very easy. People don't realize. I was talking to my, you've been acting too. You know, you're in the mirror, you're doing all your lines, it's all easy until they put 3 cameras in your face and you can't mess up.
Yeah.
My first show, this is funny, was 18 Wheels of Justice. And I was this guy, that was the Coca-Cola light break guy. Remember that guy? He was a great guy. And I was a bank robber. I had a wig on and I had to rob this bank. And my scene is the last scene on a Thursday night because it's going to be a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to go home. And the last scene is me. So I have this wig on because I'm in disguise as a bank robber and I start sweating under the wig and everything and the cameras come boom, 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 boom and it goes, okay, go. And I forget my first line, right? I said, what's my first line again? So from that moment it starts all going downhill. And then every time when I messed up, you hear the crew going, oh, you know, because they wanted to go home.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to have their free weekend. And then suddenly I exploded. I just turned around to the crew and I go, give me a freaking break here. You don't see, I'm sweating, I'm nervous, you know, it's not helping. What are you doing right now?
Yeah.
It's really messing with me, please. And they started laughing and I started laughing and boom, the take went out right away. It was good, you know, but I needed to release that in order because they were stressing me out. I could hear them. Oh, God, he messed up again. You know?
So when Here Comes the Boom came out, did they just say, hey, man, this is Bas Rutten's gig?
That was it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, William Morris had contacted me. Oh, my God, we want him. You know, Adam Sandler, man, this was so cool. We went to the pre-shoot, right, so to say. And afterwards, we were drinking so much. He came at least 3 times to me. He would every time stop in front of me, and then he says, you're good, dude. And then he walked away. And then he came back again. He goes, dude, Unbelievable. I go on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel twice stopped me. And he said, dude, that was really a good performance. And then when we left again, he says, I mean this, you did really good.
Yeah.
And then I got the reviews from Variety and all these, and they were great reviews. Some people backed the movie, but they would all say, oh, this guy, the Bas Rutten. So I was in heaven. I go like, oh my God, hopefully it's going to take off right now.
Right.
But it never really did. I think maybe they see the comedy guy. Maybe they don't know if I can turn on the dark side. I don't know. It's in such a stage now, right now, that I do what I want to do.
Right.
Because what they tell you as an actor, they say don't do endorsed products.
Right.
Because it's not a good combination.
Right.
But after 2 years, I say, listen, I'm going to do products.
Yeah.
If you, get a job for me, I will do that.
Right.
But I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm 50 years old, getting older. Let me do my own stuff now.
What about the audition process? I know you had to go on a couple of those. Those were just like nerve-wracking for me because I'd go in there finally because I just hate auditioning. I hate learning lines, period, because I'm kind of ADD.
Yeah.
And I get to sit there and read this shit over and over again. If I just got some copy or if I'm learning, the different rules for one of the shows I'm on, it's a whole different ballgame. It's easy. That comes to me. All of a sudden, I'm pretty good at being me.
Yeah.
I got to be somebody else who's somewhat of a character. Not so much. And so it's almost painful. I go on a couple of these auditions, and finally I told my guy, I said, man, I'll go do this one. And I think it was a comic book company movie. I knew I didn't have any part being in, but for the sake of my people, I would go try out for this part. So you go in there, and there's a casting lady who's making a call, and then there's the dude that's running the camera and is going to be reading his lines. And all of a sudden, here we go through it a couple of times. They give you a couple of suggestions, and it's like, even though I told myself, dude, I don't give a shit if I get this or not, took out the nerves.
Yeah.
Steve Austin, and I'm nervous.
No, but me too. And I think every person has it. It's just about, again, doing it a lot. Like my daughter, so you met my daughter boyfriend. He's an actor. He's on Disney. I mean, he goes to auditions, gets callbacks all the time. And literally, I see him. He gets the lines. And it's like my friend Holt McCallany. He would never mess up a line. And they gave him the script. And on the way with the limo to the set, he learns the lines.
Oh, people like that piss you off?
Oh, but he says, Bas, I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah.
Your mind finds a way to do that. It's like fighting with you, he says. You see right away what is wrong with somebody.
Yeah.
He says, that's your skill. He says, this is my skill. I can memorize lines very well.
And I do agree with that because after I did, several weeks on a different show, it's like, okay, you just hand me the stuff. Yeah, I kind of got it, but not at the level that some of those people can take it to.
Yeah, but it's the same with your reality shows. That makes you feel,
that's it,
pro wrestling. But still, I think that if you're Stone Cold, that's, I think, easier for you to play than when you have to do a show because Stone Cold is a different guy.
Just me turned up. Yeah. To try to play a different character. And that's why I love the reality genre so much of television and actually working on another show as we speak, but just because I'm better at being me than I am at being somebody else. And a lot of other people are good at doing that. More power to them. But I'm like you, man. I work my ass off to be able to get to do finally what I want to do, not what I have to do to get somewhere. So I pick and choose a whole lot. With as busy as you are and growing up, dude, what do you do for hobbies and what do you do for fun?
It's really hard. I swim in the ocean, which I really enjoy. I couldn't do it this week because I had this crazy flu that I had for 2 weeks, and they're driving it out now with amoxicillin. They said, do not work out. Because during I was sick, I was still working out. And the doctor
because you're one of the crazy knucklehead guys,
Because I think it helps, Because it always makes me feel...
You're going to sweat it out.
Sweat it out. So, but now I wait. I didn't even go to the rehab this morning. Not on Wednesday, I didn't go to there. So now I'm waiting, and I'll probably on Sunday, I will jump in the ocean again. That, for some reason, it gives me a feeling, is the craziest thing.
How much time will you spend in the water? Because you were telling me the other night, you got these gimmick things, and your website is BasRutten.com.
Yep.
And you've got all kinds of badass gadgets and inventions, the O2 trainer for fighters and breathing and training the lungs and the diaphragm. But you also had these things that you were using in the water, you tread water with for resistance.
Yeah, resistance tools. And you can flip it with your hand. I got two different ones. I have a glove that gives you fins in between your fingers. And then I have another tool that I can grab, and I can hold it in any position. I can actually, when I pull back and I twist it, it's going to be resistance at the front. I can punch underwater. I can do body shots with it underwater. I do big fins on, so I'm going to come out of the water till my belly button, and I try to stay there for 1 minute. It's really hard on the legs.
Right.
And then I do all these crazy exercises on the water, 45 minutes. and then I'm out. I used to be way more crazy. I used to do this in the pool at 54 degrees. And I would, literally, if you stop 20 seconds, you start shaking violently, but I knew I had the jacuzzi next door, so I can jump in there. But I would sit shaking in the jacuzzi. And my wife says, "What are you doing?" I said, "It feels good. I don't know why." I would sit in the middle of the night. I wake up. I go sit. I put a snorkel on. 45 degrees water, right? This is in the wintertime. And I sit on the bottom of the pool with a snorkel, and I just meditate for 30 minutes, see if I can keep myself warm. It's the craziest thing, and I love doing things like that for some reason.
You always reference a book, and a couple of interviews I listened to, The Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
Okay, tell me why I should read this book, because you recommend everybody reads it.
Everybody.
Why?
The great thing was that somebody wrote the inspirational things that other actors say. And Will Smith, I always looked up to him as well, and he does the same as me, and that's with you. Preparation. Right. When I go in for a movie like with Here Comes the Boom, I didn't bring my script. And he goes, "Where's your script?" I said, "I got it, dude." That was the rehearse week.
Right.
You got it? I say, "Yeah, I got it. I worked really hard on this. So if there's things you want to change, you can do it. We'll work on that. But preparation is the key to success." It's a book about a sheep herder. And he meets this guy, and the guy, he gives him some life lessons, and he starts traveling. He's looking for this treasure. And that book takes you with it, and it's so smartly written that every little thing, you meet people for a reason. Omens, they call it in the book. If you meet a person, he's put on your path for a certain reason there. So you got to either do something with that, you cannot deny it, especially if they come back, every time. And the book also said the personal legend, that's where you're looking for. That was at the end. His treasure was the personal legend. Everybody has a personal legend. The personal legend is what your pro wrestling. Mine was fighting. And hopefully I can find something else now also. And same thing with you. We're going into TV and we're trying to find something else because it's not enough. You want to, be still contribute because there's so much good you can do also being a known guy. I mean, helping people, it's a fun thing to do. And they say, and I truly believe, if you stay on that path and you do not, and you did, we were talking about it. I the interview with Michael Civello, I watched that with your potatoes, eating 3 potatoes a day, 9 shows a week, have no money, only have to use it for gas. I mean, you're really, you want it. There's many times that you go like, oh, maybe a 9-to-5 job will be good now, now, but then no, you don't do it. And eventually, poof, there it is. Any great actor you talk to, they all say, do not give up. Watch every interview. What is your life like? Do not give up. There's moments you want to give up. Do not give up. It will happen. They all say that. So I figured, hey, if everybody says it, I get goosebumps now. Right. And that's with The Alchemist as well. And they say how to recognize these certain omens that come to you. And it's such a book. I still read it. If I fly to New York, you can read it in 4 hours. It's not like it's a crazy big book. Sold over 70 million copies. So somebody did something really well.
Yeah. One last thing I'm going to ask you about. I've been trying to be respectful of your time here, but I only saw The Smashing Machine one time. It was about Mark Kerr. Yep. Chronicled, a period of his life. Dude, man, that was it was pretty insane.
Yeah.
You were right there with him and coaching him through all that. Man, I mean, dude had a lot of issues and a lot of pain. What was the story?
The story, I did not know that at the time. I did not know he was shooting up. I just told him that he would come in for training camp. I'll put him on a weight scale. I said, okay, you're 240. If you turn 241, there's no way you can, my training, that you can gain weight. The only way for you to gain weight is when you're using, and I don't like you to use. So that's why we're not going to do this. Because in fighting, it will hold you back. But his problem was his wife, his ex, she's totally non-supportive of everything. And he will be on the phone with her the whole time. And the time when I found out that he was shooting drugs was actually when I was training him and Marco Huas in Japan. They both had to fight the same card. And we went to this big pool and we did running against the stream. We did all this. And I said, let's go, let's roll a little bit. And then my tendonitis hit in both of my arms. And it's an insane pain. I did a class one time with Eddie Bravo where this hit. And he was explaining things. I could not even understand what he was saying anymore. He probably would have thought, my God, is this what they're talking about? Is this Bas Rutten? I was doing so much, it's so much pain.
Right.
And it goes for like an hour and a half. And I'm telling them, I say, guys, I got to go. I want somebody to drive me to the hospital. I need something, it's this, I can't do this now, right now. And Mark said, pack up everybody. We go to my room. I got something for you. And at that moment, I didn't care about anything anymore. And we go in and he's taking a syringe out. And I remember looking and I go, well, I want the pain gone. I didn't care. And he shoots me up. And then as soon as he did, I went, I became a plant. Wow. Like I'm sitting there and I start sweating. And I go, oh, now I got you. I told him, That's the reason you're always sweating. I remember we had to go to dinner that night. I was nothing. I couldn't eat. I said, how can you fight on this? You know, it's the worst thing. Pain was gone. Literally, in 3 seconds, pain was gone. But it took me, I think maybe he gave me the same dose as he did.
Right.
You know, we could have done 1/10 of that maybe. It would have still helped. But that really messed me up mentally. I go like, wow, how can somebody literally perform on this kind of stuff? And then I knew, every time I saw him sweating, I knew he was taking that stuff.
Well, what was he shooting up?
Nubane. Yeah.
Dude, that's one of the things that I'd heard about because, you know, the bodybuilders kind of made that popular, or I don't know where it come from, as a surgery drug or whatever. And then some of the guys in the business I come from, we started gravitating toward it. It was never something that I came across. Man, I was just allergic to a needle. It wasn't my cup of tea. But that was the one and only time, don't fuck with a Nubane, right?
Yeah, that was the only time. Yeah. No. I had this real short thing that after my last fight with my knees, with OxyContin, I got really fast, start going wrong, and I recognized it right away. And I go because I was increasing the amount so fast. I'm talking to the doctor, and I went from Vicodin, or from Norco to oxycodone because it's not hard on your liver. And then suddenly I go I went to a show. I still didn't realize that my body really needed it. And I was somewhere in a different state. I had to fly back, and the flight was delayed, and I had no more medication, and I was started to shake in the airplane home, and I go, oh my God! And I went to the doctor, and I said, I started doing homework on how to get off of this and everything, and there was stuff that's called Suboxone, you know, and that you have to see it, that can temper you off, and he didn't want to give it to me, and I got really violent at him, you know, he got scared there. I say, you turned me into a junkie, dude. I mean, okay, I did it, I took it, but I really, it was so stupid in my mind, I didn't recognize it, but thankfully, it was only for like 5 months.
But when you were on the oxycodone, you're basically taking a lot of Vikes and Perks?
No, Vikes and Perks, you take that in the beginning, but once you go...
You went to OxyContin?
This is the thing. Like I told you about my body, how crazy amazing that is. My liver is so insanely good, it learns how to break things down really fast. So I go from taking 2 pills to 4 pills in a week. And then suddenly 4 become 8. And suddenly if you start taking 20 a day, Norcos, you go like, wow, I still remember the day that I put a 9 on my mirror. I would not go over that number. And then I simply couldn't because the pain was there. And then, you know, and then the doctor says, listen, there's way too much Tylenol. It's very hard on your liver.
Yeah.
That's why they go to oxycodone, because there has no Tylenol in it, which is better for your liver. And then when I heard that word, it helped, but that was, for me, within 2 months, I stopped everything and then I cut it out.
Before we leave up on a heavy-duty note, tell me one story before you leave. And, you know, because I've been wanting to know either about a story in Roppongi, which is Japan, everybody knows that. And there's a story about Leon and French fries. I think you mentioned Leon earlier in the podcast. Or a piston on Paul's leg. Paul lays and me must stunt double up in Vancouver, Canada. I mean, any story that's not going to incriminate anybody or yourself.
Yeah.
Just a good story from back in the day.
No, this story, well, we can pretty make it fast. The thing was with Leon van Dijk that was in Holland with the French fries. He picked that up, but there was a lot of stuff that happened with Leon in Roppongi as well. But it's always. Well,
we'll do another podcast.
Yeah,
where you come back and just shoot your shit and tell stories.
But this one was so cool because in Holland you have a snack bar, and the snack bar is like after the clubs go, the stores close, you can go to a snack bar. They have fried things. They have like 70 different fried things that you can eat, and French fries with mayonnaise, with garlic, and blah, 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 blah. Everybody wants to eat because they're drunk, right? So the place is closing, and these people want to get in, but the door is locked, and they want to eat. And they say, no, the place is closed. And I go, I'm sorry. My buddy Leon, he says he has the fries, and he walks outside, and he stands in front of the window to those guys, and he's eating the fries in front of their face. So he's kind of a dumbass. And so once we went outside, these guys go into his face right away. They start screaming. And Leon,
because he's making fun of them.
Yeah. They wanted to fight him.
Yeah.
And Leon, you do not want to fight with on the street.
Yeah.
This guy's, I've never seen anything like this. His one punch knockouts are just crazy. And he's eating the fry, and he puts it in his mouth, and the guy gets really close into his face, and he goes, wow! And the guy, he flies, lands on the ground, and he just keeps eating his fries, and he's smiling at me. You know, he didn't spill a thing. Total balance. The guy got lifted.
Yeah.
You know, so, that was Leon. He has that superpower.
What does Leon weigh?
200 pounds. You know that he did curls with 125 kilos?
Oh, you were telling that story about putting him in an armbar, and he would curl it up. Yeah.
He would just curl up. That's what, 280 pounds?
Yeah.
It's just bizarre, you know. He was this really strong guy.
What is it about? Because one thing we didn't go into, and if we get a chance to talk again, because you're famous for all the damn bar fights and crazy shit that just happened in your life while you was traveling around the world. But what the fuck is it about Holland? Is it because I've never been there? Out of all the places in the world I've been to, never been there. Do people just love to fight there, or I mean, is it the night scene and then the guys, you know, get the alcohol and it's just hey?
No, it's for me. I never picked a fight, but if you're
no, you never would. But guys want to test you.
That's the thing. And once I try to defuse it, some of them think I'm afraid.
Right.
And then I go again, and then I tell them, I said that I'm not afraid. I hope you don't think I'm afraid. I just don't want to fight. It's so useless to fight you. Why would I want to fight you? And then if they say something back, I said I just don't like to beat the out of you. I got to watch my thing because I told myself this year I really don't want to swear anymore. And for some reason, I said I really like to enjoy beating your face in right now. You know, if I start talking like that, or I say I do not want to beat your face in, now I'm calling his bluff. You know, and then most of the time something happens or other guys back down. You know, but it's never been like it, even with Sweden. It's like they keep on pushing, and then once people stop hitting you, pushing you, put a finger in your eye, put a finger in your other eye, you know this is going to go. If I don't do anything, next is kicking the pills. Something's going to happen. Right. You know, so then I have to do something. But then when I do something, then it becomes always a big thing. Right. Then they go like, oh, you fought 5 bouts, this all that. And these people are saying, guys, this is a long time ago that I fought on the street. But nowadays I literally call the security. Yeah. Some guy comes to me in a bar, I literally do this to security because thankfully they're always fighting. I say, come here, I say, take this guy out. Right. He's trying to fight with me.
Well, that was that one of those shades of the story over in Sweden or what, when the eye pokes the cops and one of the guys was a cop at your drill. You almost did jail time for it. Last thing, you were bullied. People looked at me and got inspired by the actions that Stone Cold did on TV. But since you were bullied, what kind of advice would you give to any young kid, teen, or whoever that's being bullied right now? Words of advice from Bas Rutten.
Words of advice would be, let it go. Let it go. The bullies, they only peak 4 years, and that's in school. After that, over 80% of the bullies, it's all going downhill from there. He better been born into money, because otherwise they're not going to have a job. They're obviously the guys with the lower IQs. I mean, if you really would think about it, who would think it's cool to, with a group, pick one weak kid, you know, so just let it go. It's very hard. Pick up a martial art just to make sure, you know. I would always advise that also for the parents. We have a lot of them in my gym that do it for that reason. But, you know, always just try to avoid it, knowing that once you leave that school, you go to college, there's no more bullying in college. It's pretty much going to stop. And I know it's hard. And I always tried also, you know, I was fortunate that I knocked the guy out, and that pretty much stopped 90% of the bullying. But, you know, it's never good to say for a kid, you got to hit somebody. But, you know, I know as a kid it can really hurt. You know, I laid awake at night. I was laying on the roof. I was always thought about I wanted to be Spider-Man or Wolverine. I would lay in the middle of the night on the roof, just watching the stars and climbing trees. That was all my thing. I was always busy with something. Find something, you know, and especially social media nowadays, cut them off. Don't let them even come on your Facebook, you know, because...
Speaking of social media, you're Bas Rutten MMA on Twitter. Yep. Website, basrutten.com. You can catch Bas and his partner, Kenny Rice, on Inside MMA on Access TV every Friday.
Every Friday night.
And, man, I appreciate it. I was thrilled to be on your show, and I appreciate you driving down to Beverly Hills to come be on my show.
No,
I'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we got to do it again. Boom.
All right, a big shout-out in order for our friends over at TrueCar. With TrueCar, 60 seconds is all you'll need to get an offer for your car. In the amount of time it takes to floss your teeth, pet your dog, or do a few sit-ups, you can get a true cash offer. Best of all, you can do it from your smartphone or even from home. Just go to TrueCar and simply enter your license plate number and watch how your car's details pop up. Answer a few questions, and you'll get an accurate true cash offer from a local TrueCar certified dealer. It's that easy. After that, you can bring your car in and they'll check it out with you together. You can ask questions and get the answers you need so there's no surprises. Then simply leave with your check or trade in your car for a new ride. So when you're ready to experience a better way to sell or trade in your car, check out TrueCar today. True cash offer not available in all areas. All right, I'm giving Sean a go-home cue, so let's wrap it up for this week. Make sure you check out PodcastOne.com and subscribe to The Steve Austin Show so you don't miss any of these classic episodes. Before I ride off in the sunset, I do want to throw out a couple of plugs. I still got a beer. It's the Badass Broken Skull IPA, the finest IPA in the United States of America, and that's the bottom line. Made by El Segundo Brewing Company. You can find Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in Cali. If you ain't in Cali, you're probably SOL. And if you're looking to get a badass pocket knife, I got two for you. Cold Steel Broken Skull Knife, Cold Steel Working Man Knife. Get them at my Amazon store. Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin, or go to the Cold Steel Knives website and check out all their badass knives. Also, one more big shout out to all my sponsors to make this show possible. That's how I'm able to bring this show to you free twice a week. Please support them because they support us. For more info, check out the podcast description to this episode for details. Folks, I am on social media, Twitter and Instagram, at Steve Austin BSR. Folks, I'll be back soon, but until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.